Jimbo, nobody has controls here. Wow, what an idiot. He'll come back in about 2 minutes. I'm not going over there.
No, I'm not going over there either. But I'm going to start streaming. We're going to go live here. It's going to take a while to get going, but it doesn't matter. We will fucking do it.
I'm not going over there.
Excellent. All right, let me... All right, so let me... I'm going to do things like...
better yet, I tell you what, let's schedule a time to do this.
We'll do it right now, dude.
No, let's do it. I'll schedule a time to do it. I've got other things happening right now I can't get away from.
No, we're going
for
to
an
do it right
extended
now.
period of time. So I'm happy to schedule a time. I will create a hangout. I'll set the time, and you tell me when you're available.
Jim, you're a coward.
Jim will do it right now. Don't tell me don't tell... Jim comes into a hangout to tell me he's got no time to come into a hangout. This is the kind of intellect we're dealing with here. But let me tell everybody what's going on. Okay. Jim has pretty much he's pretty much stated, and I will show you, he's pretty much stated that evolution is a lie. Now, I sent him the videos that a whole bunch of them of videos, one that I presented yesterday live, and which he termed to be a propaganda video, then he wasn't going to watch it. He's not going to watch my propaganda videos. He wants to talk one-on-one with me. So I said, let's go right now, live. He said no. Because he's a coward. And all he wants to do is escape responsibility. No responsibility for Jim. And I'm looking for a connection. A little connection, a little connector that I need to get a hold of before I can hook my headset up. Oh, we do have a hangout going right now. Let me just sort of bring it in and include everybody. There you go. Okay, so right now we got down. The hell did you think of that? So Christian Hillbilly was in here. He said he would debate me, but only in his own hangout. He left. So I went live, and I'm ready. He can come right back in and pick it up. I'm ready to go. Until he comes back in, though, I'm just going to run some evidential videos. Okay? Does that work?
And he popped in and said that he had no time to come on the hangouts, even though he was in the hangout.
Yeah. Oh, he came. He popped in to say he can't come on hangouts. He's got no time. He popped into the hangout to say that. So the guy's a bit of a clown. All right. So let me just set this shit up. And I just want to bring in something good. We don't care what Christian Hillbilly has to say in outside chats at all. So what I'm doing right now, excuse me while I sort of flail away here, is I am looking for... I'm looking to bring in the video editing software that I'm going to be running the science videos on. Sorry, the propaganda videos on. How about that one? Brrr with me. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. Let me introduce to you, it's in the middle of a lecture right now. But I'm going to start playing it. Anyway. For y'all. And oh, before I do anything, I just need to check my my feed. Make sure everything's running. Doesn't look so good. It says live, but it's not green, it's yellow. Anyway, I guess it doesn't really matter. I just need to check my yeah, oh, it's obviously working. Alright, let's run it.
In fact, if you go to his notebook in 1837, this is his depiction of the process. The terminal things that we call species today are all linked through a series of common ancestors as we go into the past. Unfortunately, Darwin got it, but a lot of his contemporaries didn't. Darwin appreciated that a common ancestor must have given rise to the line that ended up with a common chimpanzee and the line that ended up with a human. Now, what about that line that ended up on the human side? Well, Darwin didn't address that question until 1871 in The Descent of Man. And he warned us. He was very, very cautious. He said, we must not fall into the error of supposing that the early progenitor of the whole simian stock, including humans, was identical with or even closely resembled any existing ape or monkey. Darwin knew we didn't evolve from living primates. And yet, Darwin was immediately cartooned by people skeptical of his ideas in this implausible restoration of a human head on the body of a chimpanzee. There weren't any of these fossils in those days. This stays with us today. You've heard of the monkey trial in the 1920s. Many people across the world imagine that Darwin suggested that we evolved from living primates. He didn't. We evolved from common ancestors, and our quest is to find out how that happened now. And we go back to this diagram, this branching diagram. Now we've looked at fossils of the genus Homo. We know about the last part of that journey. We know that there are forms of Australopithecus, small-brained, completely bipedal forms. One of them became technological and eventually became us. Other ones went extinct because of their specializations. And now, finally, we've been able to move beyond Australopithecus with some new evidence from that drill hole. It's not really a drill hole, it's exposed sediment. And it happens in Africa, and it happens in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Chad. And what we have are the first windows into this time period. It is a chronospecies set. It's an evolving lineage, apparently. It is older than what we left the last lecture with, Australopithecus. We traced it back a little bit beyond 4 million. Now, we're moving to Ardipithecus, over here in the geography, down here in time, 4.4 million years ago. The first time we've been able to look through that window, and what a window it is. For scale, our landscape, that's a Land Rover. Imagine finding a tooth.
Okay. Okay, I've just stopped it in for a second, just to do two things. Number one, I'm gonna plug in my headphone here, and then check to see if the video is actually feeding through. But I just also wanted to make a point that Dr. White is about to introduce a transitional species, I guess, a transitional fossil, which shows how the human hand, which is made for grabbing, versus the chimpanzee hand, which is made for
grabbing
and walking, and the knuckles and stuff. You know,
yeah.
the whole the whole structure is different. He's found a Ardipithecus, which is the transitional fossil, where the foot or the hand has the features of both a human hand and a chimpanzee hand. So you can see the fossils. Stay tuned because it's coming right up. I think. There it is. All right. Let's carry on, shall we?
Are we live, Sid?
We're live.
Out there. We have to go up in the air even to have a sense of what this place is like. Turn a video camera on it.
Are we live?
Okay,
Sid?
so Christian Hillbilly said he's happy to debate you.
He said he's
This
happy to
evening.
debate me on his terms, in his hangout, but no videos and just words. But he won't agree to not over-talking me, and he won't agree to not interrupting me. So I said, let's do it right here on the same fair, level playing field where he gets to talk. He gives me the nod. I'll talk. I'll give him the nod, and so on and so forth. But he did not agree. He won't agree to that because he's a coward. He's a lying coward, and he knows it. Shall I carry on?
Good.
We
Yeah.
actually did this. We put an HD camera on the nose of a stable helicopter, flew it around, took footage. You can watch this on the website that's here. But when we get up in that helicopter and look down on the ground, we see a couple of cars down there, and we see this long stripe. We can trace it around the landscape. That's actually one of these volcanic ashes, very much like the one that I handed around. And that's dated to 4.4 million years ago. Now, you see these people? Let's take a better look. Now, bring the helicopter around. We're looking down. What in the world? Here are a bunch of people crawling on their hands and knees across the burning desert floor.
So let me just tell you what's going on here. Christian Hillbilly is desperately trying to yeah, I'll show you. He's desperately trying to get. Yeah, I'll share this with you. This is how much of a liar this guy is, and a coward. I'm gonna just share this with you because it is time. Here we go. All right. So he sends me a message here in the outside chat. Sydney, I will be happy to debate you, Sydney. We can schedule a time this evening if you like. I will set up a live hangout where people can watch, and it will be only you and I in the hangout. We can even structure it like a normal debate with opening statements, rebuttal, closing statements, and then we can open up the room to question. What do you think, Sid? And then he just sent me a link or some kind of a link to a post or something. But the deal here of Christian Hillbilly is that there is nothing to discuss. Evolution, it's a fact, an absolute 100% incontrovertible, indisputable, unfalsifiable fact. There's nothing to discuss. Okay? So with that, let's if I can figure out how to continue with our video here, we shall continue with our video. Okay, there we go. Fade it in and let's go.
What are they doing? Well, they're picking up anything biological. Anything that's eroding out of these sediments, ancient floodplain sediments, below this volcanic ash horizon that's up here just at the top of the screen. And they find them like this. This is a tooth of an animal called a kudu, an antelope. Occasionally, as you're crawling across, you run across something like this. You say, whoa, I'm getting out of the way of that. That's not a fossil. That one's alive. And what is that anyway? That's a dung beetle. You know how many species of dung beetle there are? About 5,000. A little different from the human saguaro cactus. We don't pick these up, but we pick these up. This is a 4.4 million year old fossilized dung beetle ball. Dung beetle's long gone, but the ball is there, fossilized, calcite on the inside. This is a rock. We find fossilized nests of these animals. We find snails. We find wood. We find millipedes, seeds, birds' eggs. That's a tooth of a mouse. These are the jaws of bats, a carnivorous bat on the left, a fruit bat on the right. All from sediments coming out from that volcanic, right underneath that volcanic ash. And this is what it looks like. Can you spot the fossil? Pretty tough work, huh? Got to get on your hands and knees. All right. Now can you spot the fossil? Yeah, you can kind of see that white thing there. You reach down, you pick up that thing in the middle of the frame. This is what it is. Wow, it's the lower jaw of a monkey who lived there 4.4 million years ago. This is what we do. This is how we recover the primary data. And that was happening one afternoon, late in the afternoon in 1994. It's a long time ago. Johannes Haile Selassie was a graduate student, Ethiopian fellow, who's at the University of California at Berkeley. He's crawling across this landscape, seeing eroding sediments, very much like this. And here's a case, a fantastic case in science of the right person being at the right place at the right time, not stumbling across a fossil. This is not chance. This is not luck. This is paleoanthropology, modern paleoanthropology. And he finds these two fragments. And he recognizes them right away as bones from the palm of the hand of a hominid, except we're missing the middle piece. So what do? Well, you know the pipeline, you know the drill. We've got to excavate, we've got to sieve. So we start sieving, we sieve some more, and we start finding other pieces. Johannes is getting pretty happy now. Another piece. Could it be the same individual? We start an excavation. We mark these fossils with a yellow flag so we maintain their position. The base of the yellow flag is actually the horizon, the level the fossil's found at. So here's this little hill. We've got to keep it wet, because if we don't keep it wet, the clay expands and contracts. These are floodplain sediments, and it'll shatter the bones inside. If it rained on this little hill for another 10 years, we would have a handful of isolated teeth. That's the timing. Amazing. This thing has been in the deposit 4.4 million years old, and Johannes comes around just at the time that these things are coming out of the ground. Wow. We take off the top of the hill. Look what we find. A dense concentration of these fossils. Here's how they come out of the ground. Another bone from the palm of the hand. We expose it. That's the head. That's a knuckle. A finger bone. A shin bone. We have to put Herdner on these things. Here's the lower jaw, just as it's coming out.
So the live
we take a syringe.
What's that?
Are you still alive, or did you shut it off?
No, we're still alive. I'm pretty sure we're still alive.
I would cut it right there. That way you can slap on to YouTube your assessment of what Jim is doing, and it's out there in the public peanut gallery.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I said I would shut it down and just slice that one clip you have of where you are telling Jim the terms and leaving it up to him. You know, he's been presented.
No. There is no terms. There is no discussion. There is no debate. The evolution that I'm presenting is a fact. There's no debating it. It's not,
okay. Well, hold on a second. Since we're live, I'm going to show you what Jim just posted.
Please. I've already posted that. I've already seen that, and I've already posted that, and I've already responded to that.
Yeah, but let me explain something from my point of view. This right here is a lure, a false lure, because Jim is a liar. Jim is an absolute liar with this.
Right.
What he says on the bottom here, we can even structure it like a normal debate. He has never structured anything. And I'm going to attest to that myself. This is merely a ploy to get somebody into his hangout. And then as soon as you're in there, he will not do a normal debate. He will do a Jim-style debate, which is puts you on mute and talks over everything you say and calls it propaganda.
Right. That's right. That's what he does.
So it comes down to this.
So is he live right now? Is he live right now?
No, he's not.
Okay, in that case, I have stuff to present. Not only this, but lots of stuff that I would like to be on this particular stream, so that it's recorded, so that if we do need to refer to it, it's all in one place. Okay, so we're just going to carry on then.
And we inject a hardener into this sediment. You can't touch the bones at this stage. You have to solidify them, let them harden, and take them out. So we're dripping the preservative into place. Eventually we take this out, and we do that, remove all of those fossils to the camp table. Now we've got it. We can't see what they are yet because they're embedded in these blocks, rigidified with plaster, and now we've got to remove them. We've got to get them 2 days drive over camel trails and then asphalt back to the capital in Addis Ababa, to that museum. So we load them in the car, take the car across the river. Note that the river doesn't have standing waves. It's not very deep. Good thing. We would not try to cross the river that you saw before. Finally, they get to the museum. Now the work begins. Now we fast forward through time. 15 years later, we're at Washington, D.C., the American Association for the Advancement of Science, October 2009. There's Johannes. Looks a little bit different now. He's older. He's now a PhD, Cleveland Museum of Natural History. One reporter asks, "Why did it take you so long?" Johannes looks at me. Blame your professor, right? Well, look, these fossils are Ethiopian and world heritage. They're from a time period we know nothing of. It's the only one that's ever been found. We screw this up, maybe nobody will ever find another one. This is an awesome responsibility and opportunity. We had to restore this hominid. We wanted to understand its biology. We started that, not with the hominid. Well, the hominid work was going on. We started with the broad question. What about the ecology here at 4.4 million years ago? How do we get back to what it was like when that animal, or human ancestor, or whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be after study, died and was buried there on the floodplain? Well, that's where the context information becomes important, because by this time, and we go back to the field again and again, we excavate 3 more years at that site to try to make sure we get every piece of this hominid. We go back again and again to get more bats and more rats and more birds and more turtles and more everything we can. We bring it back, 150,000 vertebrate fragments, invertebrates, soil isotopes, phytoliths, pollen, wood, seeds. Fantastic, a 4.4 million year old world, and we can put it back together again with the right people. And this takes some time. In this case, 17 years, 47 authors, 10 countries, 11 papers published in Science. All of these people are project members. They're specialists. Here's one specialist. This is the guy who does the bird bones. He faces bones like this that have been recovered from the field. And he can tell you what kind of bird those bones belong to. And what he finds out is that over half of the birds from this layer that held Ardipithecus are parrots and peacocks, birds that live in wooded environments, not open savannas. We know it's not a lake margin because we hardly have any ducks at all. What are these? These are the ankle bones of mammals. Can you guess the one at the upper left? There's your scale down below. It's about 8 centimeters. Anybody with a guess? Take a wild guess. What animal would have an ankle bone that big? It could be a giraffe. That's true. We don't have a giraffe here. That happens to be a rhino. What about the little dot down on the right? Let's magnify it. That's an ankle bone. Same bone. Ankle bone.
All right, I'm back.
Insectivore.
Welcome.
A shrew. Wow.
So
we've got the whole fauna.
Yeah. So
What's the topic?
Oh, evolution.
Ardipithecus was there in the middle somewhere. We'll come back to that. Abundance. Remember that kudu tooth? Well, we've got thousands of specimens now from all different kinds of mammals. Kudus are very abundant. Monkeys, the monkey jaw, very abundant at this site. 3-toed horses, very, very rare. Interesting thing. Monkeys live in trees, eat leaves for the most part. These are leaf-eating monkeys, mostly.
No, he has, but he's muted, so we can listen to the video.
Oh, okay.
That we find. We find very rare horses. Horses graze on grass. We can actually find out about an animal's diet, where it comes from, by using the isotopes in its enamel that are trapped there for 4.4 million years. We do this in laboratories, and we find out that Ardipithecus, we analyzed that hominid tooth, and it patterns out here with the kudus, with the monkeys, with creatures that live in the closed habitat. And of course, they're the most abundant ones. What are these telling us about Ardipithecus? Faunal and floral associations, tooth anatomy and proportions, microscopic tooth wear on the hominid itself, enamel isotopes, masticatory apparatus, that just means the chewing. It's not at all like that big robust thing we saw over there. And locomotor adaptations, we'll talk about in a minute. The hands, the feet, and the pelvis, they all add up to one thing. Multiple convergent lines of evidence adding up to the same picture, and it's not the picture Lamarck drew us. This is a woodland. What about what eventually came out of that little hill? What about this creature, Ardipithecus ramidus? Well, we give these creatures names. We just shorten the genus name in this case and call her Ardi. She's a female. This is the Turkana boy at 1.6 million years ago. These are the new skeletons from Malapa. You know, one of them has a name. I forget what it is now. There's Lucy at 3.2 million years ago. Johannes has his own skeleton, quite a big guy that he found at 3.4. Belongs to the Lucy species, a male individual. And then we have Ardi. There's that skeleton. I want you to pay attention here. Look at the hands and the feet. Look at the preservation of the hands and the feet, just by what elements are there, and compare that with Lucy. That's fantastic for a paleontologist, because you can get at biology here. You've got one individual from 4.4 million years ago with biologically key parts. You've got skull, teeth, pelvis, hands, and feet. That's going to tell you a lot. But that's not just that individual. Remember crawling all over those surfaces? We have found parts of 36 additional males, females, and children from this hominid species among all those other mammals. So now we can compare Ardi with Lucy. We can compare tooth size to body size. We find out Lucy, relative to her small body size, she's 3.5 feet tall, a full adult, she has pretty big back teeth compared to Ardi. But before we could do those comparisons, we had to put the teeth back together again. They had been exploded, damaged. We had to take little pieces of these teeth and put them back together again before we could even measure the tooth. What about the skull? Well, we saw this in the lecture yesterday. If you compare a chimpanzee skull with a human skull, you can see they're different in size. We knew that Ardi was pretty small. We didn't know how small. Problem was, before her bones came to be preserved there, what happened is that the cranium, something stepped on it. Maybe the rhino. We really don't know, but it was not good news for us. It's good news we found the cranium, but we had a big job in front of us. How do we deal with this? How do we take these pieces? Now, in a normal fossil, we take a very fine needle and take the pieces apart and put them back together again properly. But the problem was, this bone is so soft that you'll damage the fossil when you do that. And this is a unique fossil, so you don't want to do it.
What's going on?
Heathen. I said he keeps dropping out.
That's okay. It's okay. Doesn't affect the flow of the video, right?
Yeah.
But we can use technology. Micro CT scanning. Gen Suwa from the University of Tokyo was able to take a whole series of slices right through that crushed cranium. And you can see these slices on the CT scan here. We can freeze it, we can segment these slices out, and we can take the bones out. "60 digitally separated."
Sorry.
Parts in the final reconstruction. And finally, we can add from the middle awash, we can add the 4.4 million year old cranium of Ardipithecus ramidus. It came before the Lucy species, and there is Ardi, thanks to that computer reconstruction. The original, still pancaked, but we have the digital material generated through resin, and you can come and take a look at that after the lecture. So Ardi's skull features a very small brain case, one of the smallest hominids ever found, an unspecialized chewing apparatus, weaker facial projection. It doesn't have the expanded projecting face of a chimpanzee, a very short cranial base, more like a human cranial base. The pelvis didn't look very good when we found it. Took it out of the jacket, cleaned it up, when we looked at how broad that pelvis was, we realized that it compared very favorably in that part of the anatomy with the Lucy pelvis, a biped. That's Lucy, the gold. That's the Artie restoration. And compare that to a chimp. One of the things that allowed Lucy to walk, allowed her species to make those footprints, allows us to walk, is the shape of our pelvis. Our pelvis wraps around. Look at the chimpanzee's pelvis. It comes up over the back, and it locks in the lumbar vertebrae. Incredibly stiff spine. These animals, when they stand up, are incredibly uncomfortable. They can walk bipedally. We see this in the circus, but only for a couple hundred meters, then they fatigue. This organism, with the blades very broad and low, wrapped around the side of the body, gives good leverage here to stabilize the trunk during bipedal locomotion, and we see that already in Artie. And yet, when we look at this region, the bone that you sit on, what we find is it's very extended, as we find in the climbing chimpanzee. So even within a single bone, we're looking at a mosaic. What about the hand and wrist? Remember the Darwin caricature based on the chimpanzee? These hands of the apes are adapted to walking on their knuckles. This is a gorilla. It's asleep right now, so we're safe. And you can see that the animal is adapted to walking on its knuckles. That's the pose of the chimp. They do the same thing. And this requires a lot of rigidity in the wrist. John talked about that yesterday. It goes actually all the way up the forearm. They're knuckle walkers. And so many people predicted that we would find something like that as we went back on the hominid lineage, looking at these adaptations.
You awake, Sydney, or you just
humans, of course, are not
lurking?
knuckle walkers, and they're very different from chimps. We have short palms.
Yeah, we're actually broadcasting this video live. So you want to watch it? We're playing it anyway. I'm having a evolution discussion with Jim Hillbilly, and this I'm just presenting this bit of evidence before. This is how I make my case, so it's on record. So hang tough.
Can you simulcast it on here or no?
This is it. You're watching it.
No, I only see
you're
you.
not watching it. Yeah, I probably could. Hold on.
You mind if you don't mind if I invite Gus, right?
You can invite anyone you like, as long as you can just keep it down until the video's closed. The video's...
Yeah, no worries.
Alright. Alright, so, yeah, if you want to mute, I'm going to continue.
Give me 1 sec. I'm going to try and get Gus in here, and I'll explain to him.
Well, explain to him in a message or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do.
So I'm going to carry on, because everybody's watching.
Alright, let me mute. Hold on.
And in suspense here. I'm keeping them from the flow. Here we go.
And we have longer relative thumbs. The Artie hand, nobody ever saw a hand like that before. You couldn't even really imagine it until we found it. It's not the hand of a chimp. Look how short the metacarpals are. It's not the hand of a human. Look how long these bones are, the phalanges. It's a mosaic. It's different. It's why we give it a different genus name. The foot. Remember the quadrumana? They were named that because of four-handedness. The gorilla? Look what's missing. What's missing from the gorilla foot? Where did it lose its toe? The answer is, the gorilla's not the weird one. We're the weird ones. We humans have feet like that. All other primates have feet like this. This chimp up here, divergent, big toe. Gorillas, orangutans, gibbons, monkeys, lemurs, all the way back to the base of the primate tree. It's a defining characteristic of the primate order. We have grasping feet, except for us. We don't. That evolved. That's what those footprints in the volcanic ash at 3.7 million years ago tell us. They tell us that we had evolved a fairly modern-looking foot even before our brain case expanded. And now with Artie, we see something new. We go beyond Australopithecus. We see a foot that maintains that grasping ability of the big toe, but the lateral foot, the rest of the foot, is functioning as a rigid lever, not a hand. It doesn't have that grasping adaptation of the rest of the foot that the chimpanzee had. The chimpanzee went its own way. Now, what are we going to do with all these characteristics to make sense of all of this? We've got all kinds of things. We've got spine and cranium and so forth. We evolutionists pay attention to the new things in evolution. What are the new things? Where can we place this creature in the phylogeny, in the relationships? Has a part of the foot is like a human foot. The pelvis is more human. A long lumbar spine, a very flexible back, not the solid, rigid back of the chimp, a short cranial base, and feminized male canines. All of these features answer the question of whether or not this creature is on our side of that fork with our last common ancestor, the chimp. Features uniquely shared with all later hominids, from the teeth, the skull, the pelvis, and the foot, allow us to make that placement. So you're asking the question now, well, okay, that's fine. You get a yes to that one. It's a hominid. But is it the direct ancestor of things like Lucy and Australopithecus? That's a tougher question to answer for the paleontologists. Let me explain why. We have these early forms. They're not well represented yet. We're just beginning to find them. Australopithecus anamensis evolves into Afarensis. It's a chronospecies. We looked at that in the last lecture. But look at the fossil record. Despite all of our success in the field, it's still mostly gaps. There are pretty big gaps that remain to be filled. We have fossils from Tanzania, Kenya, and Ethiopia, so we have a geographic gap on the rest of the continent. We have time gaps. Ardipithecus ramidus is possibly the direct ancestor of Australopithecus. It's pretty close in time, but evolution can happen very rapidly with the right selection and the right genes. And classification and phylogenetics, in fact, they're useful. People pay a lot of attention, but there are much more interesting biological questions to be asked. What about this? We know the human palm is very short compared to the ape palm, but what about what's under the table? Now we get to a quiz. This is a common chimpanzee. It's an autopsy photo. It turns out there's a chimpanzee very much like this male chimpanzee, killed a human child. So the local people killed the chimpanzee and they autopsied it. They took the organs out in the autopsy. Please identify organ A. Brain, easy. Please identify organ B. That's a testicle. Now, the problem is with the fossil record, testicles don't fossilize. They're soft tissue. It's a problem. But we kind of have a proxy in the canine tooth. You can see it in the animal up here. Male chimpanzees have these very long, projecting fang-like canines that sharpen as they come down across the lower dentition. Even females have this. This is called CP3, upper canine, lower P3, honing, sharpening. And these animals use these teeth in threat, bluff, and display. Largely the male against male in chimpanzee
Sydney, what are you doing?
society. Why are they fighting? What are they?
We're broadcasting live, and this is the movie everybody's watching, or not the movie, the talk that I'm presenting as evolution, as an argument against Christian Hillbilly's assertion that evolution is a lie. And we're almost done.
Oh, I can't hear anything. Am I interrupting?
You can't hear anything?
No.
Oh, you know why? I'll tell you why. Because firstly, I got headphones in, and that's probably why. So what I'm going to do, if everybody excuses me, I'm going to grab you the link so you can actually watch it.
It's just me in here.
That's okay. No, yeah, there's no point in being in here if you can't hear anything. So hold on just one moment.
Canine tooth. You can see it in.
This is casting to YouTube?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the link for that. So, where are you? Yeah, I'll just stick it in the inside chat here, okay? And shall we carry on?
They're competing for estrus females. Females that can be impregnated. So these teeth can stand in as an indicator of the kind of social behavior going on. What about humans? Well, we see that humans compete for females, but we humans don't really know when the females are ovulating most of the time. There are all kinds of products developed to, help that, but it's kind of concealed from us. And what about Ardipithecus? Well, this is not Ardi. Ardi's a female. But fortunately, since we have those other individuals, we can take the largest male canine from the collection, and this is what it looks like. It's a tiny, short, blunt tooth, completely different from a chimpanzee. It's not functioning like a chimpanzee. What do we read from that? Well, we have to think as biologists, because these are systems under evolution. What we're talking about here is a creature that is at the beginning of bipedality. It's not a full adaptation like in Australopithecus. It doesn't have the honing canine. That may be a signal that the males in this species are not competing over estrus female. It may be a signal that this ovulatory crypsis is very deep in human evolution. It's a fundamental part of our biology. Maybe it started off way back then. Maybe it has something to do with bipedality. We can generate hypotheses, more fossils can test them. So Ardipithecus, a woodland hominid, not a savanna chimp. Not a link between modern apes and modern people, but it really reveals chimpanzee evolution. It shows how specialized these apes are. After all, they've been evolving for the same 7 million years since we split from them. Chimpanzee evolution in one trajectory, human in another. And it shows that common chimpanzees today, like this one or the one that was shot in Uganda, their behavior is highly specialized, their diet, highly specialized, their locomotion, highly specialized, and their habitat preference, tropical forest. The common ancestor we shared with chimpanzees was not a chimpanzee. How can we explain that? If you're looking for insight into this, turn to evolutionary developmental biology. That's what Sean Carroll does. Professor Carroll's book, A Good Place to Start. Endless Forms, Most Beautiful. Great quote from this book. Nature invents, by teaching very old genes, new tricks. That common ancestor had genes. We haven't found that common ancestor. We've gotten pretty close through Ardi. The Ardi species had genes. These genes, those old genes, learned different tricks in a sense. It's really not like that. It's natural selection operating on those genetic materials to, on the evolutionary endpoint, which is the chimpanzee, make a chimpanzee.
Sydney!
And make a human.
Are you going to debate me, Sydney?
So,
Yeah, as soon as I've made my my point, okay, just hold on a moment, please.
No, sir. I will not listen to your propaganda video. I'm not talking about in here right now. I'm talking about scheduling a time in a hangout, just you and me, nobody else. And then we can open it up to questions if you like.
Right now. Let's do it.
Tonight, 6 o'clock?
No, right this
No,
minute.
sir. I told you we'll schedule it in a hangout, just you and me. No interruptions.
Right this minute, we're in a hangout. And
No interruptions, Sydney, because you're a coward. You're a coward, Sydney.
We're in a hangout right now, and we're live. Let's go.
No, sir. No, sir. I told you we'll do it with just you and me. No interruptions. Nobody else.
Christian Hillbilly, we're all set up for that right now. Let's go.
Sir,
We're live.
I've got to go here. I don't have time.
Did
you
you
want to do
come
it
into
tonight at 6 o'clock?
Did you
You want
come
to do it tonight
into
at 7 o'clock?
Did you come into
You want to do it tonight at 8 o'clock? You tell me when you want to do it. I'll say
Hey, I won't interrupt. You guys have your thing. I won't interrupt at all.
I know Gus won't interrupt. I was saying right now. You said let me choose the time.
Goodbye.
I say right now. Cool. Okay, let me finish up this guy's such a fuckword.
I know. He's calling you a coward when he won't right now.
I just can't figure this stuff out. I mean, you can write this stuff. This is amazing. Anyway, let's get real. It's not too much longer left, but there's actually a couple of things I want to present after that.
another book. Same topic. It's called Your Inner Fish by Neil Schubert.
When you said Christian Hillbilly, I didn't know that was an actual person.
Well, he's kind of a character more than a person.
Yeah, I thought you were just saying in general, though, and then right after you said that, someone popped in named Christian Hillbilly, and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, you guys have never met?
No.
Oh, dear. Anyway, you will meet.
Has a couple of great lines in there. The zoo in you You are linked to the rest of the tree of life, the zoo in you. And why history makes us sick. What's he talking about? He's talking about, we don't like history class? No, he's talking about evolutionary history. What is it? Why, to come back to that question in the initial lecture, why is it that human medicine must be evolution-minded?
Do you play chess at all?
Because...
What's that?
Do you play chess at all?
No. Is there a relevance?
I'm playing right now.
Oh. Okay, I'm just going to carry on then.
Just wondering.
Evolutionary biology is the science that has proven to unify medicine. Humans all grow, and we all get sick, and we will all die in a world of other evolving organisms, other species lineages, parasites, bacteria. They will kill many of us, ultimately. So we better understand that. Our genetic diseases were forged through this evolutionary process. We'd better understand it. The biological variation within Homo sapiens the reason that Abdullah looks different from me, that is a result of evolution. We better understand it. Human bodies, behaviors, and physiologies were shaped by evolution because humans evolved. And now we have all of this evidence that Darwin didn't have. But to move even beyond human health and disease, to move beyond medicine, this gives us a perspective on our existence on this planet. We have seen, just in terms of geographic range, over this 6 million year time period, we've moved with Ardipithecus, a woodland creature, barely bipedal, through Australopithecus that expanded its range all across Africa. A couple different species of it arose and then went extinct. It led to early Homo that expanded the range, expanded the geography of hominids beyond Africa, and then finally Homo sapiens that is planetary. Fascinating, because what's happened just over the last little bit of geological time, over 2.6 million years ago, technology-driven niche expansion has happened. And what are the consequences? The consequences are real, and the consequences are fatal to creatures like that one. These are, of course, the extant apes. Very well adapted through natural selection to tropical forest environments that are being destroyed by Homo sapiens with chainsaws, not stone tools. That's interesting. It turns out that this species, this bizarre species Homo sapiens, is now, and this has never happened before, in the history of life on this planet, it has never happened before that a single evolutionary lineage, one species, is bringing about the extinction of so many contemporary species. And these primates, the extant apes, within your lifetimes, may well be extinct in the wild because of the activity. And that's not the only organism, there are many others. We are, in fact, the sole surviving hominid species. I'm going to leave you with 3 images. This is Michelangelo's masterpiece on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. This is the hand of Ardipithecus ramidus, 4.4 million year old hominid that we have just found. That Johannes was skillful enough to come across in the desert and recover almost intact. And this, of course, is the view of planet Earth, given to us through the Apollo astronauts. Right now, we're 7 billion living individuals in this one species, Homo sapiens. We're having global impacts on biodiversity and on human health. After 6 million years of human evolution, evidence and reason, much as Darwin predicted, have illuminated where we came from. What will you do with that knowledge? And what will we do with that knowledge? I'll take questions.
All righty. So that's pretty much my presentation, my evidence. Let me just bring everybody in here and say hi. All right. Let me try something else. Okay, well, again, that was my evidence, and I am going to open up this hangout now to anybody who would like to either challenge the evidence based on what I presented, or as is probably smart, to join the team who agrees with the evidence and listens or refutes anybody else who comes in and wants to talk about it. So I'm just going to go and check the YouTube and any messages that might have come my way. Okay, well, oh my God, let's look at this. There we go. All right, let me just bring this up here. This is the kind of moronic stupidity that I'm dealing with. You see this? 6 minutes ago, Christian Hillbilly, because he's this is where he thinks. He posts the one I read to you. We will, Sydney, I'll be happy to debate you, Sydney, what do you think, Sid? And then he copies that same message and he reposts it. Because if you read it, it's exactly the same. That was 7 minutes ago. And then Christian Hillbilly, smarty pants, re-pastes it and sends it to me one more time. 7 minutes ago. So the guy is absolutely a raving idiot. I have a hangout going here. You're more than welcome to join in, Mr. Christian Hillbilly. You know very well that you're going to get a fair shot. The problem is your cowardliness has defeated you. Your cowardliness will not allow you to stand up to defeat. That is a problem. That is a huge problem that you need to face up to, Mr. We've got Gus with us right now. Hey, Gus.
Howdy, howdy.
How much of that video did you catch? How much of Christian Hillbilly's claim did you understand?
Of his claim?
Oh, yeah, you haven't heard his claim?
No. I just heard him come in and yell at you.
All right. Yeah, of course he's going to yell at me because he's very embarrassed. But here's his claim.
Okay. What's the claim?
Creation is true. Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, hold on a second. Here's his claim.
Creation is true. Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Creation is true. Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Creation is true. Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Evolution is a lie straight.
That's basically his. Sorry.
His point is just that it's a lie. He doesn't have anything.
Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell.
I see.
That's his claim. Now I've presented my evidence. I mean, I'm not the scientist, so I'll let the scientists present the evidence. His claim about that evidence that I just presented, and I streamed to everybody, is that is propaganda. So he's embarrassing himself not only once, but twice, at least. I'm sure there's many other ways he will embarrass himself. Every time he opens up his mouth, he embarrasses himself. Just when he said, name the time and let's debate. And I said, right, let's go to do it right now because we're in a hangout, it's live, let's do it.
And I would not have interrupted. I would have let you guys hash it out.
You weren't the problem. If you weren't there, believe me, he would have come up with something else.
I know. I think it's a kind of a big problem that us humans have is that we're still our mentality is still very tribal. So once you choose a tribe, you feel so fervent in protecting your ideal. Right.
All right, I'm going to paste the link in the YouTube chat window. Says there's 3 people watching, so you all 3 have access to the. You all 3 have access to the Hangout link. I better put it in the. I'm going to put in the details section as well if anybody joins or whatever. To join the live hangout. Alright, basically, Christian Hillbilly, your ass is on the line. You are absolutely defeated. There is nothing you can do or say or come up with that will defeat the fact that evolution is a fact. Now, there's a couple of things I just want to point out about Hillbilly. He's a vicious little cunt. I'll show you why. I will show you why. He's not only is he a vicious cunt, he's a racist vicious cunt. Can you believe that, guys? Can you actually believe somebody could be like that?
There's plenty of them.
Weird, man. Anyway, let me show you what I mean. Rather than... let's see if I can figure it out here. What have I... I think it's that one. Yes. Alright, let me just set it up and show you what I mean. The same thing. It's the chat that we've been having. If you pretty much have to watch the live stream to see it. Okay, so I posted the link to the hangout, which you can see in the live stream. And he replied to that with some icons. Okay, so he typed in. How come it's not? Oh, there we go. He typed in Sydney equals.
Oh, I'm looking at it now.
All right, Sydney equals. And then monkey with his eyes covered.
Yeah, see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil.
A monkey with his ears covered and a monkey with his mouth covered. Now, this is his reply to me. And this is a Christian. A Christian, I tell you. Well, let's analyze this, Christian. How do you feel about that?
I'll certainly analyze a person. What constitutes a Christian nowadays, I'm not so sure, because it's certainly not following strictly to the Bible.
Right. Okay. Well, let's find an image that does, and then we can analyze. We can analyze him. Just give me one moment to find it. I know I have it somewhere. There it is. Found it. Okay, so let's set it up. Something like that. Okay, so can you see now yet? Tell me when you can see the image.
On the YouTube's pretty delayed, so it might take a minute.
I understand that. It's about 30 seconds. But when you can see it, we can discuss it.
All right, I'll let you know.
Well, I'll be able to tell you myself because I'm watching.
Oh, right, you're watching too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, real quick during this break, I'm going to go grab more coffee.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start reading it because I was going to do that anyway. So, essentially, Christians are there's a division in actions, etc., between a real Christian and who's going to go to heaven, and anyone who's going to go to hell. What I have noticed in pretty much virtually all Christians, is that based on their actions outlined in Galatians, written by Paul the schizophrenic, Paul the crazy, that you have to portray love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control in order to inherit the kingdom of God. Now let's find out if Christian Hillbilly today, in his interruptions and his accusations and his denials, if Christian Hillbilly has shown any one of these spirits that, or these sides of his nature that will ensure that he, Christian Hillbilly, inherit the kingdom of God. I, Sidney Winston, say that no, Christian Hillbilly has not displayed any of these attributes, not at all. However, on the flip side, I think I will say that Christian Hillbilly has demonstrated many of those attributes, those traits, those actions that will ensure that Christian Hillbilly does not inherit the kingdom of God. In fact, Christian Hillbilly, let me tell you something. Christian Hillbilly sent me an image one day of where I am going to land up because I am not a Christian. Well, you know what? I'm going to share that with you, everybody. This is what he sent me. My new home from Christian Hillbilly. Look at it. It's like a body of water, which could be a lake, and lots of flames on top of it, which could be fire burning on top of a lake. Well, that's my new home. Well, it just seems to me that it might be my new home, and I'm quite content with it. However, it looks to me like I'll be sharing that new home with Christian Hillbilly. So, for all a Christians evangelizing, for all a Christians preaching, it amounts to naught, because based on everything that I have seen from Christian Hillbilly and every Christian, and I'm going to put Christian Hillbilly as the poster boy of all Christians, he has not displayed one attribute that will ensure that he, Christian Hillbilly, will inherit the kingdom of God. Ladies and gentlemen, I am done. Thank you very much. Well, that's my spiel. Christian Hillbilly, come on in. Come on down. Surely you're not scared. Christian Hillbilly, are you? Sure. Someone like you, yeah, can't be scared. Well, I think he is.
Something's wrong.
What's wrong?
Him not coming in here.
No, that's totally predictable. He's a coward. He's an absolute 100% true blue Southern American coward. That's bound to piss off some people. But I'm sick and tired of his bullying. He's a Christian bully, and I'm sick and fucking tired of it. I hate 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 his bullying. I want to share something else.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw it on the live. Okay. Oops. I think I just did the wrong thing. Oops. Okay. Let me just find the right. Oh, there it is. Set this up right, but I'll be with you in a moment. I need elements. Cool. I'll bring it in just a moment. Thank you. I just want to make sure that okay.
The world is thinking.
Do you think there could be one sentence that could convince, let's say, a creationist to seriously doubt their theory? Ideally, if you could convince a believer in God to really doubt their belief, but that's too hard.
Not sure about a sentence. I think perhaps the single most convincing fact, the observation that you could point to would be the pattern of resemblances that you see when you compare the genes using modern DNA techniques, actually looking at the letter-to-letter correspondences between genes.
Wow.
Compare the genes of any pair of animals you like, pair of animals, pair of plants, and then plot out the resemblances, and they fall in a perfect hierarchy, a perfect family tree. And the only alternative to it being a family tree is that the intelligent designer deliberately set out to deceive us in the most underhand and devious manner. Moreover, the same thing works with every gene you do separately, and even pseudogenes that don't do anything but are vestigial relics of genes that once did something. I find it extremely hard to imagine how any creationist who actually bothered to listen to that could possibly doubt the fact of evolution. But they don't listen. I mean, Your question is a perfectly good question, but it's not not really relevant, because what they do
no audio in the Hangouts.
is
I don't
simply
know about
stick their fingers.
The gene himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Because I got my headphones in. Shit, hold on a second.
That's fine.
Is in their ear and say la la la.
I just can't have volume while I'm watching it on the stream, or else it's going to double up for people.
Okay. Well, it's almost done. It's only a couple of seconds left.
I find it extremely hard to imagine how any creationist who actually bothered to listen to that could possibly doubt the fact of evolution. But they don't listen. I mean, your question is a perfectly good question, but it's not really relevant, because what they do is simply stick their fingers in their ear and say la la la. They know what's true because it's in the Holy Book. And that even, I mean, the most extreme case is the geologist Kurt Wise, who has a PhD in geology from Harvard, and said, if all the evidence in the universe pointed towards an old Earth, I would be the first to admit it, but I would still be a young Earth creationist, because that is what Holy Scripture teaches me. You cannot argue with a mind like that. A mind like that, it seems to me, is, well, a disgrace to the human species.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So essentially, we've got to say that Christian Hillbilly, your mind is a disgrace. Your mind is a disgrace to the human species, Christian Hillbilly. That's your mind, a disgrace. You need to face facts. You need to come clean and be honest with yourself. Be honest even with your wife. Tell her you've been lying all this time. Evolution is a fact. Now, is he going to be man enough to come in and say something? I doubt it. However, we do have some more entertainment in the works. I am going to try, and if you don't mind watching the live feed for a second, because I'm gonna undo my headphones so you can listen to, real time. Okay, so let me know if it's interfering or whatever on the live stream or anyway.
Well, I won't be able to play both audio on both streams, so.
Good.
So I can't tell you if there's an issue because.
Okay, well, I'll check it. I'll check the live. I'll check it on my end.
Okay.
Okay, so you should. All right, so let's just go back to. Let me just bring this in for a quick minute. That's essentially is Christian Hillbilly's claim, right? Creation is true, and evolution is a lie. But because he's Christian Hillbilly and he's as dumb as burnt toast, I'm gonna let him speak for himself. Okay. So presenting your one and only Christian Hillbilly. Take it away, Mr. Christian Hillbilly.
Well, good evening and howdy, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim, and I go by the Christian Hillbilly. That is my screen name and has been for 20 plus years. I am a online evangelist. I'm a preacher, pastor, kids worker, you name it, I do it. I love to preach the good news of the gospel. I love to teach people about how God's word works with science, especially when it comes to children, especially when it comes to people with PhDs and XYZs behind their name. I've been many debates with people that kind of ilk, and never failed one yet, God willing. Anyway, I got a gentleman that's coming in here. What's your name there, E? I'd like to know a person's first name so I know how to call you by, so I can let you up here. Levi. Okay, Levi's coming up, and we're going to have us a good old-fashioned back and forth. So, looking forward to it. Changed it. My goodness. Accept. Come on up, Levi.
Yo.
Welcome to the chat. Creation is true. Evolution is a lie straight from the pit of hell.
I would like to suggest, what is your evidence for the claims that evolution is a lie? Because of the vast amounts of evidence science has shown us over the years.
Okay, first we need to actually define what you're talking about when you say science. What is...
Okay, what do you make of that? Define what you mean when you're talking about when you say science.
Asking for the definition of science is pretty strange to me. I mean, it looks like someone looking for a trap door. I don't know anyone who needs the definition of science.
What he's looking for is science is observable, repeatable, testable.
Yeah.
Okay, as you'll see evidently in a second.
What is science?
Science is something that's something that can be observed and provided with evidence.
Let me go ahead and give you the more formal definition, okay? It's testable, repeatable, observable. Would you agree?
Sure.
Okay. That is the basic definition of science. Okay. Guess what evolution is not? It is not testable.
It's not. Evolution is not testable.
It is not observable.
Why not?
It is.
Evolution is not observable.
It is not.
Why not observe it?
No, hang on.
Evolution is not repeatable. I'm just repeating what this guy says. Yeah, I'll do it again without interrupting. Hold on a second. Let's find the spot.
Guess what evolution is not? It is not testable. It is not observable. It is not.
Actually, we can't observe it.
No, hang on a second. Don't interrupt. Hey, we're gonna have a back and forth. Okay.
Okay, the back and forth. This is the way Christian Hillbilly likes to put his rules in place. Okay, listen to this.
Okay, when I'm done, I'll give you the little nod, and then.
Okay, so he's done. He gives the opponent or the opposition or his colleague or whatever the nod.
And then I'll shut up until you give me.
And he'll shut up until
give me the little nod. Okay.
He gets
again when it comes
until he gets a little nod back. That's his plan for a debate, right?
Comes right down to that. Evolution is not.
I just want to say that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Not testable, observable, repeatable. And the reason that is because it is not scientific. It is based on a person's belief system.
Hold on a second. You need to hear that again.
Guess what evolution is not? It is not testable. It is not observable. It is not.
Actually, we can't observe it.
No, hang on a second. Don't interrupt. Hey, we're gonna have a back and forth. Okay. When I'm done, I'll give you the little nod, and then I'll shut up until you give me the little nod. Okay. But again, when it comes right down to that, evolution is not testable, observable, repeatable. And the reason that is because it is not scientific. It is based on a person's belief system. You go.
So evolution is based on a person's belief system.
Well, then you have to define what belief is to him.
Well, that's another claim. I mean, it's
right.
not. It's not evolution is evolution. It's not based on anything. It's based on science and based on fact and based on all that shit, all the digging and all the lab work and all the analysis that people in the field in the industry do.
Right, but it sounds like the key word there is belief for him. Like that's what's tripping him up. What does he think belief is?
Well, Jesus, of course.
No,
well,
but I mean,
you'll find out. You'll find out. You'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, it can actually be observable due to like the fossil record. Maybe not. We can't see. If we can, even if we can't see it, like we can't see an animal turn into another animal right in front of our eyes, we can see the fossil records slowly show the creatures changing over time. In fact, we can actually see evolution not like on a gigantic scale, but we can actually see it on a small scale, like in the Galapagos, where Darwin's finches had different beaks depending on the region where it needed, like a region where they needed to eat things that they don't have to kill for. They had more things that were suited for their environment. Plus, there's genetic evidence. We are related to everything on this planet, like in terms of relatedness to a certain degree.
Okay, here it comes. Firstly, he's not waiting for the nod. He's interrupting. He's going to come up with an excuse of being old and this and that and the other. But that's a stupid excuse because he already has he should have his argument. He knows how to use a pencil and a piece of paper if he has to mark down the points. But here is how he conducts his, I'll give you the nod and then you give me the nod.
One topic at a time. Is that okay?
Sure.
Because I'm old, I'm 55, don't remember things very long. So, you were talking about evidence from fossils. Okay, that's one. And then you also mentioned the Galapagos. That's two. So I might be able to manage two now and again. If I forget something, please bring it back up to me the next time. But when it comes to fossils, what are fossils? And again, because I like to teach, I like to ask questions to make sure we're on the same page. What are fossils?
I'm going to look at the definition, right?
What are fossils?
Wait, what? Okay, I'm excited to see where this goes because a question like that.
Yeah. Oh, you are actually probably. Make sure you're sitting down, okay?
I am. I'm in my kneeling chair.
Beauty.
Right here. Sorry.
While you're looking that up, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. Fossils are millions of dead things laid down by sedimentary water all over the earth. Okay. Now, if you have something that's dead and it's fossilized, there's a couple things you got to take into consideration. Number one, it was alive. Number two, now it's dead. That's all you know. You don't know if it procreated. You don't know if the children of that procreation survived. You don't know what color they were, what they ate. Sometimes you do know what they ate because you also have what's called the fossilized scat, which really is amazing. Anyway, I won't go there. But you have all this different stuff, but you don't have anything that point to any type of transitional forms. Okay, that's
that I just presented all the evidence necessary to point to a transitional forms in my presentation that was kindly put together by Dr. Tim White. Jim.
That's the thing about fossils. They once were alive, now they're dead. Really got nothing other than that.
They once were alive, now they're dead. You got nothing other than that. This is Jim fucking. This is the way he. Well, you call it thinking, but I don't call it thinking at all.
As a matter of fact, if you look at what's called the Cambrian explosion, the Cambrian explosion actually knocks evolution right out of the water because there's like what mollusks and stuff. As a matter of fact, they don't even, they've got coral starting up right from, boom, coral, nothing before it. Why is that? Because coral is a group, it's a whole life form of forms. So anyway, you've got nothing and then boom, everything. Why is that? Because God created, and he created according to their kind. Now, after that, you said the Galapagos Islands and Darwin's finches. Okay. First, we got to take into consideration, what were Darwin's finches before they made this change? They were finches, right? Okay. Once the beaks got changed, what were they?
Different species of finches.
No, they were finches. So again, they still could interbreed. There was no problem there. They were still finches there. So you don't have evolution. You don't have evolution. You don't have evidence of evolution. What you have is evidence of what's called speciation.
Which is evolution.
Yes, is what you were trying to talk about earlier. And that is the pressures on a particular organism in its environment to adapt to that environment. Now, here's the kicker for you. How can any organism adapt to its environment? How does it adapt? You have the genetic code. You have the genetic code in that organism that actually creates everything that that organism is. The beak, the feathers, the blood, the bones, everything. Well, wait a minute. Now you've got pressures. So the pressures allow the ones with a little bit longer beaks to continue to survive. That does not help evolution. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. Now you have just a rearranging of the existing information. No new information created. As a matter of fact, no, sir. Please don't interrupt.
Please don't interrupt. Okay, let's see if he keeps up to his own axiom there.
There's no new information created. It's only a rearranging of the existing information or reduction of information. You're up.
Okay, it's not the reduction of information. Oh, I could still hear myself.
I got it from.
Sorry. It's not really. It's more like the editing of information. Imagine you have like a Word document. Let's say you have you're editing a document, and you edit it around. Like you accidentally put the A instead of an E for the word the, and you space it back and you put the word E. It's not the elimination of new information. It's the elimination of old information and putting in new information due to mutations. Mutations are one of the few things that every time the gene pool gets smaller due to natural selection, mutations increase the gene pool's accessibility or so.
Okay.
So I do have to give Christian Hillbilly some credit for debating someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. It's actually, this is like comedy.
Systems, sir. Those are not scientific claims. Let me go ahead and point something out to you. Okay? There is never any increase of information. Never. Now, I would love for you to do some research. Next time we chat, you can bring it in here. I would love for you to do some research and find me any positive mutations. What does the word mutation connotate? Why do they not allow close marriage? Why can't you marry your first cousin? Because the mutations combine and they combine and they combine. You know what? When the royals in Britain were marrying their sisters and their cousins because they wanted to keep the royal blood pure, what they were doing is they were allowing all these mutations to gather up inside their bodies, which made them unviable. Now, mutations do not help your situation. And I love the way you...
you want to hear that again? I'll be happy to play it.
Now, mutations do not help your situation. And I love the way you started off by saying, imagine that you started editing it with a Word document. Guess what? You just shot yourself in the foot, because information always comes from an intelligent source. Let me ask you a question.
How do you know that?
Hang on a second. Let me ask you a question. What's it say up at the top of my screen here? Not the straight pride, but right up there where my name is. To say Christian Hillbilly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where is the information in those two words?
This is where he gets really stupid. Listen to this carefully.
Where's the information in those words? Okay.
This is really bizarre.
Is it in the color? Is it in the ones and zeros on the screen? Is it in the pixels? Where is the information right there?
The word.
Oh, really? Actually, that would be wrong. The information is immaterial by its very nature. Information, including genetic coding, is immaterial at its very nature because it is an agreed upon language.
Actually, we have seen DNA.
It is an agreed upon language. You have a transmitter. You have a receiver. You have a media in which the information is conveyed.
Excuse me?
I feel like he's confusing concepts.
He doesn't have a clue. Listen to him.
And you have that agreed upon language, which is so important. So the transmitter can transmit, the receiver can receive, and the work can be done or the information can be passed. So information like this only comes from an intelligent source. So DNA has those exact same characteristics. Now you go.
How do you know? How do you know that it had to be an intelligent designer, though? How do you know it could have just been...
Oh, sorry.
How do you know it was an intelligent designer? Because first of all, we don't know that DNA has to have an intelligent designer. We just know that it's a very complicated thing, and that just because things are complicated doesn't mean it's automatically been created. Excuse me.
Okay, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. You said how do we know that DNA or information has an intelligent designer? Well, guess what? Here's another test for you. You got mutations. Go find me one positive mutation except for sickle cell anemia, because that doesn't work. Because yes, it makes that organism less susceptible to malaria, but the detriment to the body of the person who has sickle cell anemia is no benefit whatsoever. Okay, so anyway, that's off the table right off the bat. Anyway,
did you hear what he said? The detriment to the body has no benefit whatsoever. Does anybody know in the English language what that means? Because I'm going to play it again.
Yeah, I didn't understand his explanation at all. It seemed like he was just answering something else.
Yeah, that's him.
For sickle cell anemia, because that doesn't work. Because yes, it makes that organism less susceptible to malaria, but the detriment to the body of the person who has sickle cell anemia is no benefit whatsoever. Okay, so anyway,
I just got to mark that.
Yeah, but I
think just put a marker down there because that's another stupid thing you just said.
The detriment to the body of the person who has sickle cell anemia is no benefit whatsoever. Okay, so anyway, that's off the table right off the bat. Anyway, mutation is beneficial, and now find me one source of information using the parameters that we're talking about here: a transmitter, a receiver, an agreed upon language that comes from a non-intelligent source. Hey, and then my argument's refuted. Go right ahead.
Mutations.
Mutations are not that.
Yes, they are.
No, sir, you're not understanding. Mutations are not intelligent, number one. And again, they do not help the organism, number two.
He just proved his point.
I want to get that.
Mutations.
Mutations.
Okay, there's number one.
Are not that.
Yes, they are.
No, sir, you're not understanding.
Oh, whoops.
Mutations are not intelligent, number one. And again, they do not help the organism, number two.
Mutations do not help the organism.
Yes, they do.
100%.
Well, let me read you the definition of mutation.
Hang on a second. Let me ask you a question. If you take those letters up there, say Christian Hillbilly, and you copy them, and let's say you copy them 10 times, and now you've got 4 L's up there in Hillbilly. You can take one out. Does that make it any less or more readable and understandable?
No, but that's the mutations are adding new letters in. They're deleting old letters and putting new.
Where does the information come from?
Mutations, as I said before. When you breed, your gene
can only. Hang on a second. Mutations can only rearrange existing information. Rearrange existing information or duplicate information.
I'm going to try and get you the definition of mutation in terms of the
Sir, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what mutation.
According to
if you don't mind me asking.
What?
How old are you?
I don't want to disclose that.
No problem, sir. I'm going to tell you that I'm 55 years old. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. I know what I'm talking about. Okay? I can tell that you're a younger gentleman. I'm not holding that against you. Timothy in the Bible was a younger gentleman, and he knew his stuff too. But I'm saying, don't take my word for it. Go out and look this stuff up. There are no beneficial mutations. There is no such thing as new information added to the genome. Nothing like that happened.
According to this, it says there's certain mutation right here. I got one. A mutation that makes sure that you can't get high cholesterol. It's called the, these people were born with genetic mutations. More specifically, they lack working copies of a gene known as the PCK9. And while it's usually unlucky to be born with a missing gene, in this case, it seems to have a positive side effect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You just made my point for me. I'm glad you did find that, but do you realize it is missing information? Thank you. I will note that down. But guess what? You just made my point for me. They have a benefit from a missing information. Woo. There we go.
That's just one example. Here's another one. Here's another thing. Take HIV, for example. Some people have a genetic mutation that disables their copy of the CCR5 protein. HIV uses that protein as a doorway into human cells. So if a person lacks CCR5, HIV can't enter their cells, and they're extremely unlikely to become infected with the disease. Malaria resistance. Malaria is a type of blah, 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 blah.
You are noticing what you're saying, right?
You notice that he's interrupting him, right?
Oh, yeah.
If they lack the information, they cannot get something. Do you know that this is what people in hospitals attribute to vaccines, how vaccines how viruses mutate and no longer are susceptible to antibiotics, whatever it is. I'm tired. I'm just about ready to go to sleep. But anyway, the organism.
I'm tired. I'm about to go to sleep. Got absolutely nothing to do with the conversation. Either unless he's trying to cover the fact that he's talking shit. Oh, I'm tired. I'm talking shit.
Loses the information that makes it susceptible to the antibiotic. That's why the doctor says, hey, take every single one of these antibiotics. We want you not to have any of these boogers come back, because when they come back, we won't have any antibiotics that will hurt them. Have you ever heard of antibiotic-resistant strep? How about the new one that's in all the hospitals? My wife just had to take some antibiotics for it when she had her knee replaced. Again, they are deathly afraid of these because the antibiotics have now been used against all these viruses and all these different things. And now they've lost the information that makes them susceptible.
It's not really, well, the reason for this is because of natural selection. The weaker ones have become significantly weaker. And because...
don't interrupt, Jim.
The ones who have been... excuse me. The weaker ones have died off due to the what was it again, the antibiotics. And the stronger ones, the ones who are able to resist, they end up surviving and reproducing in your body. And that's why there's kind of a thing that's been happening.
Once again, don't take my word for it. I've studied this.
See? Goes and interrupts.
This up and down. It is a loss of information. If what you are saying would be true, they would have gained information that would have made them unsusceptible to the antibiotics. That is not the case. The viruses that were susceptible, because they had the information, a particular code, are now gone, and now what are left are the ones that don't have that particular gene. Now they are no longer susceptible to the antibiotics. It is a loss of information. You are making my point for me, and you're not even seeing it.
But the thing is that just because of that particular situation means that nothing new can be gained from these mutations still, but they're new mutations. These new mutations are just disabling this. They aren't getting rid of it. They're just disabling it. They're just disabling it and adding a new, and it's just a new effect.
It's a loss of information.
No, it's not
you said it yourself. You said yourself that the organism no longer has this particular thing, and now, and what did it say? Most of the time, the loss of information is a bad thing. Didn't that one thing say just exactly that? It sure did. But you don't even want to take the thing you read to me's word for it. Here, I'm going to give you homework. I'm not talking down to you, friend. I want to give you some homework because you are trying to attack me. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. You're trying to defend your position using some very basic crap that I've laid to waste many, many times years over. Number one, there is no such thing as beneficial mutations. Number two, I've just told you that. Hey, go show me a mutation.
Okay, hold on real quick. Can I make a quick point about beneficial mutation? That is,
yeah, sure.
Okay, beneficial mutation that is probably one of the most social political topics of today is black and white. If white people didn't move north, they wouldn't be white. Because if they were black, because black people up in those snowy places have a much harder time of living because they need much more sun to get vitamin D.
You know, that would
whereas
be,
white skin
that's
doesn't.
kind of like case closed, right?
Right. Black and white.
Yeah. But let's see what else he's got to say, because I know there's not long to go once this guy starts. Watch this.
Except, you've got me this, and it is a loss of information. Show me a mutation that is actually an increase of information. You won't find that, and is actually beneficial to the organism. There you go. Also, information always comes from an intelligent source.
I'm going to look up one right now. Excuse me. Look at this. What is an example of a beneficial mutation? These benefits. I'm looking for it right now. I'm looking at this right now. Most of the time, mutations don't even have to be useful or beneficial. Sometimes they can just be neutral. They don't have to affect.
No such thing. No such thing. You do realize there's no such thing as junk DNA anymore, right?
That's because all DNA is useful.
Exactly. Now, wait a minute. If you were to take a single strand of DNA and you were to stretch it out from one end to the other end, how long do you think that thing be?
The entire side of the Earth.
You've got more faith than I do, friend. No, it'd actually be about 8 feet long. But even that being said, you've got all the programming instructions on that DNA, on that genetic code, to make that organism be whatever that organism's supposed to be. You know what? If your DNA didn't work exactly the way it's designed to work, you'd have your toenails on your eyelids, and then you'd have to clip your eyes every once in a while so you could see.
Evidence for this? Evidence for a designer?
Well, I'll tell you what. Show me one thing that has ever come about with information of this sort without intelligence, and we can talk.
Okay, but the first thing is that we don't know that we need a designer.
Oh, actually, we do. Actually, we do.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Okay, Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, right there, if you like science, right there in the very first book of the Bible, in the very first verse of the Bible, that is a scientific equation. We did not even know this until the mid-50s. This is so cool. You'll love this. Okay, in the beginning, time, God, the energy behind the creative act, created the heavens and the earth. So that's all time, space, and matter, all created in the very... Pardon me?
So he walks away. He's done. Oh, fucking hell. That's brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. And that's my presentation.
I'm really happy that was the person debating him, because he made salient points, and like, it was, I like that kid.
Yeah, he was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he brought out the dumbest of Christian Hillbilly.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Anyway, you know, that's basically my presentation of both sides. Inadvertently, I've gone and pushed both sides, and now it's up to you out there to make the final determination. Really, is evolution a lie, or is evolution a fact?
I believe it's a theory right now, right?
No, I think it's not even. I think it's, as he said, it's a belief. Evolution's it's a person's personal belief. Evolution.
Okay, you know what? I gotta define belief for myself now.
All right.
Okay, it says belief: an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists, trusts, faith, or confidence in someone or something. So it's something that's just not backed by evidence, but you think it's true.
In other words, if you were to say to me, you're going to spend an eternity burning in hell, is that something that's true? Or would you say that's a little bit of hyperbole there?
I'd say that's a belief.
A belief.
Yeah,
but that is a belief. But somebody's telling me, Christian Hillbilly, he's telling me here, you are, as my new home, you're going to spend an eternity burning in hell. Does he believe that to such an extent that this is what in his mind is going to land up as my fate? And if that's
I think so, but I don't know really what he truly believes.
Right, but if that's the case, how much of a Christian is he?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't think.
How much of that is part of the love and the kindness? How much of that is hostility?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, to quote Gandhi, You Christians don't act anything like your Jesus. I like your Jesus, but I don't like you Christians.
Is that what Gandhi says?
Yeah. He says you Christians don't act like Jesus. I like Jesus. He did great things, but you don't act like him.
I mean, look at Christian Hillbilly. Look at Darth Dawkins. Look at who else we got there? Seamus, the crazy one. We got Matt Slick. We got Matt Bell. We got Veckel. Well, Veckel's okay, but we got G-Man. We got Shani for Christ. We got Holly Baglio. These are all crazy people. We got Christian Hillbilly. These are crazy people married to Christ.
Yeah, I really think it's you know, back to that tribal concept. It's something that they found that gave them security and maybe a feeling of a little bit of power. So now they're willing to fight everything, use everything in them to fight for it because they believe it's true, because it's protected them at one point in time. But now, I mean, facts won't deter them from what they believe because it's so ingrained in them.
Wow, it's crazy.
Do you disagree?
No, not at all.
Oh. We're all sick people looking for truth.
Well, the thing about truth is it's all around you.
Yeah, and we're all looking for it.
You're looking for something that's all around you. It doesn't make sense.
And sometimes it's hard to see.
Wow, you're right. There is quite the lag. Wow.
Yeah, no, I timed it out. It was 55 seconds when I last checked.
We don't have a healthy stream for some reason either. Video resolution is not great, but rate something or whatever. So yeah, there you have it. Hangout is live. Hangout is open. Anybody want to come in and refute any of our claims? Refute Dr. White's claims, my claims. Support Christian Hillbilly in any way. He probably needs support because, unfortunately, he is he's fucked. He has no claim. His claims are spurious, specious, vacuous.
If he's anything, he's fervent, and that's about it.
He's entertaining. That's what he is. That's it. Entertaining. It's sad, though, that he doesn't see himself as a pure entertainer, and that he actually thinks that he's entertaining. His entertaining style should be viewed as that, and the message is part of the entertainment. The message is not the inner, you know, the nucleus of why he's doing this. He's doing this to entertain and to laugh at Christianity. That's what I think Christian Hillbilly is really doing, because he's really laughing at Christianity through a kind of a black humor point of view. That's what I think he's doing, because no one. I mean, I